Okay. Let's get started. Kuf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. What we were learning yesterday was a story about Yonasan ben Uziel, who someone had a child who they felt was not worthy of their inheritance. And so this person, before he died, decided to gift all of his assets to Yonasan ben Uziel. So then the fellow died. What did Yonasan ben Uziel do? He took a third of the estate, liquidated it into cash by selling it off. The other third he was makdish to tzedakah, to the temple. And the final third he gave back to the heirs. And Shammai objected to this behavior because he said it's clear that the testator did not want his child or children to receive any of the Yerusha. So you went and directly countermanded the wishes of the gifter. So Yonasan ben Uziel's response to him was, Mimonavshach, it's either a gift or it's not a gift. If it's a gift, it's unlimited and unconditional, and I can do with it whatever I want. And if not, then what right did I have? Like, why aren't you objecting to the fact that I liquidated a third and I was makdish a third? So then the Gemara's question is, Me'ikara mai savar. What was Shammai's reasoning to challenge Yonasan ben Uziel? Because eventually Shammai was forced to submit to Yonasan ben Uziel's argument. So the question is, what was Shammai's original thinking? Mishomaisa de Beis Choron. His thinking was based on a story that he was familiar with, a story called the story of the place called Beit Choron. Ditnan Maisa beVeis Choron be'echad shahaya aviv mudar heimena hana'a v'haya mesi beno. There was once a story about a father and son that had gotten into some kind of dispute, and the father took a neder that he wasn't going to get any hana'ah from his son. This would happen when you'd get upset with someone, you'd be mudar hana'ah from them. The son was making a chasana, and he wanted his father to attend. So va'omer lechaveiro harei chatzar seuda nusunu lecha b'matana ve'enon lefanecha ela kidei sheyavo abba v'yochel imanu b'seuda. So the son figures, I have a chachma. How am I going to get my father to be able to partake in the seuda? So he tells his friend, turns to his friend, he says, here, I'm going to give you the whole courtyard and all of the food for the meal. And I give it to you as a matana. But you should realize I'm giving it to you so that my father will be able to participate, because this way, instead of it being my food, it'll be your food. So Amar Lo, im shalihein harehin mukdashin l'shamayim. So the friend said, well, if they really do belong to me, then I'm hereby declaring everything to be hektish. So Amar Lo nasati l'cha shalisha takdishim l'shamayim. So the fellow who was making the wedding said, I didn't give it to you so that you should make it hektish. I only gave it to you so that my father could come and partake. So Amar Lo nasata li eshelcha ela shetei atov yavicha ochlin v'shosun meratzin zelazeh v'yehei avon toli barosho. So the friend said to him, aha, that's precisely my point. He said, if it was a limited gift, then it's not a gift at all. If I don't have the ability to be makdish it, so then you really didn't give it to me. And if the whole purpose was to allow your father to partake of the meal, then mimonavshach. If it's not a gift, so then your father's going to be committing an aveira by coming and partaking of the meal, because it's still going to be your food. Amru chachamim kol matana she'ena she'imikdisha mukteshes eina matana, because after all, the chachamim say that any gift that is so limited that if the recipient wants to be makdish it, he does not have the opportunity to do so, then that's not called a gift. This was what Shammai's thinking was. Shammai's thinking was that the testator, who had given Yonasan ben Uziel all of his estate, was limiting the options with which Yonasan ben Uziel could use the estate. And the mistake was, this is the way the Rashbam speaks it out, the mistake was that in the event that the person said, I'm only giving it to you in order that, fill in the blank, so then it's not a real matana. And if that were the case, then Yonasan ben Uziel would not have had the right to use it at all. It wouldn't really belong to him. But the fact is, that's not what happened. The fellow who was the testator did not state anything explicitly when he gave Yonasan ben Uziel the gift. He perhaps said the most he probably said is, Yonasan ben Uziel, I'm giving this to you as a gift because I'm not happy with my children. He didn't tell him, I'm only giving this to you so that my children do not get. There was no condition placed on the gift. I'm only giving it to you on the condition that you don't give it to my children. So because there was no condition, there were no strings attached to the gift, Yonasan ben Uziel could do with it as he wished. It truly belonged to him, unlike the case of Beit Choron. But that was where Shammai got a little bit, he compared the case of Yonasan ben Uziel to the case of Beit Choron, and that's why he initially objected. It's the same Yonasan ben Uziel. Now we're going to see a little Agadata now about Yonasan ben Uziel. Tanu Rabbanan, Shemonim Talmidim Hayulo LeHillel Azak, and this also appears in Sanhedrin, that Hillel had, it's in Sukkah, excuse me, but I think it's also in Sanhedrin, that Hillel had 80 students. 30 of them were so great that they were worthy of having the Shekhinah rest upon them like Moshe Rabbeinu, meaning that had they lived in the proper time, they could have been the giver of the Torah. 30 of them were not as great, but they were still pretty amazing, because they were worthy of having a miracle of the sun standing still for them, like Yehoshua ben Nun. Now, it's important to note that the sun also stood still for Moshe. Chazal say that. But they were not of the same caliber as Moshe, of the first 30, but they were of the caliber of Yehoshua ben Nun. Esrim Beinoniim, there were 20 that were Beinoniim. There's two ways of learning what the word Beinoniim means. The word Beinoni means average or in the middle. So it could mean that they were between the first 30 and the second 30, or it could just mean that they were Beinoniim in the sense that they were inferior to the first 60 and they were just average great scholars. So there's two ways of understanding that. But Gadol Shebekulan Yonasan ben Uziel, Katan Shebekulan Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The greatest of the students was Yonasan ben Uziel. The least of the students was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And we know that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was primarily responsible for the proliferation of Torah Shebaal Peh in his generation. You know, in the Mishnayos and Pirkei Avos, it talks about the 5 students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So Amru Alav al Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai shelo hiniach Mikra u'Mishnah. They said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai that there was not any area of Torah that was unknown to him, that he mastered the text of the Tanakh, he mastered the text of the Mishnah, Gemara, the explanation to the Mishnah, which is what we call Gemara today. Halachos, the Rashbam says, refers to Halacha l'Moshe Sinai, that he was a master of knowing all the Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Va'agados, meaning all the Midrashim. Dikduke Torah. So here the Rashbam says that what Dikduke Torah means is he knew how to make a drasha just out of one extra letter or one missing letter in the Torah. V'dikduke Sofrim, here the Rashbam says that this means Takanos Chachamim. He was a master of knowing all of the takanos and how to make takanos and gezeros. The kalin v'chamurin, he knew how to make a kal v'chaimer, ugezeros shavos, and he knew how to mesora and knew how to properly make a gezerah shava. Utekufos, he knew how to astronomically calculate the moilad. Ugematrios, he knew how to make numerological calculations from the letters of the different words. Umishalos kovsim, umishalos shu'olim. He knew the various proverbs of both people who work at the laundry, meaning the common folk sometimes have proverbs that help simplify very complex ideas. He also knew proverbs that Shlomo Melech used to compare human behavior to the behavior of animals. And like the Rashbam says, that these help a person attain chokhmah, because mashal many times helps to simplify very complex ideas. Sichas sheidim, sichas dekolim, sichas malachei ashares. He understood the conversation of demons, of trees, and of the malachim. And here the Rashbam says that a person can control certain astral forces if he knows the information that is being communicated by these different natural forces that exist in the world. V'davar gadol, v'davar katan. And he knew great things and small things. So what does that mean, great things and small things? Davar gadol ma'isa merkava. A great thing refers to an understanding of the chariot that's described in Sefer Yechezkel, but the Rambam says refers to metaphysics, in philosophical metaphysics. And the Davar Katan Havayos de Abaye v'Rava, and Davar Katan are the various debates between Abaye and Rava about different halachic matters. And the Rambam speaks extensively about this in Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah, telling us that it's very important to master Davar Katan before you master Davar Gadol. But you still need to have a modicum of an understanding of Davar Gadol before you even start even on the Havayas de Abaye v'Rava. Much more to be said about that, but take a look at the end of the 4th chapter of Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah. L'kayim ma shenemar, this is to fulfill what the pasuk says, Lahanchil o havayesh ve'otzeroseim amalei. The Rashbam says that the way you understand the pasuk in reference to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is that he was blessed with yesh, with a tremendous amount of blessing, a comprehensive spectrum of blessing in his life. Why? Because otzroseim amalei, because his storehouses were filled with the knowledge of Torah. So the Gemara now says, "V'chimei achar dekatan shebekulam kain, gadol shebekulam alachas kama v'kama." And if this was true about the least of the 80 students of Rabbi Yochanan of Hillel, then surely it could be said about the greatest of Yonasan ben Uziel. Amru alav al Yonasan ben Uziel b'shah sheyoshe v'osek batorah kol of sheporeach alav nisraf. And they said about Yonasan ben Uziel that when he would be sitting and studying Torah, there was such a strong connection between himself and the Shekhinah that a bird that would fly over would disrupt that connection that manifested itself even in the physical realm, and that bird would be incinerated. Okay, much more to be said about this.
That is the lowest level for Talmudim, which are Beit Hillel. What about the first ones?
This is Yonasan ben Uziel. He's the highest. Yonasan ben Uziel is the highest.
What about Uziel? Was genius of geniuses.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. Next Mishnah. Ha'omer ze b'ni ne'eman, ze achi eino ne'eman. If a person identifies someone as, this is my son, and no one knew that it was his son, he's believed. And as we'll see, it has ramifications for both Yerusha issues, and it has ramifications, we'll see, for Yibum as well. But if a person says, ze achi eino ne'eman, if he says, this is my brother, and here it also has to do with Yibum issues. In other words, let's say no one knew the guy had a brother, and he doesn't have kids either. So he can't now preclude his wife from remarrying by saying, oh, by the way, before I die, I just want everyone to know that I have a brother. He's not Neman. But, and another ramification would be as far as Yerusha. Let's say a guy says, our father just died, and I know it's just my brother and me who are the heirs, and normally we would have to split the estate 50-50, my brother and me. But you should know that we have a long-lost brother. And here he is. Shimon and Levi are the two brothers, and why don't you know we have another brother, his name is Levi. So that's what Shimon comes along and says. Reuven says, I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw this guy before in my life. So he's not believed to say, well, we have to split the estate 3 ways. Each one of us will get a third. Reuven can say, no, I want my 50%, and what you do with your 50% is your business. So v'yitol imo b'chelka, and therefore that's what Reuven can say. He says, I'm going to take our father left 3 acres of land. I'm going to take 50% of that. I'll take 1.5 acres. And Shimon will take 1.5 acres. And if Shimon, l'shitascha, if you feel that Levi is your brother, so then give him what would turn out to be a half of a third. In other words, give him half an acre from yours, but you can't force me. In other words, the Chachamim would say, Shimon, if you believe this is your brother, you have to give up a half of the third that you feel that Levi is entitled to as a brother, but you can't force Reuven because Amotzi mechaber olav arayah. Prove that he's your brother. If you believe he's your brother, so fine, so give him a half an acre from your 1.5 acres. But you can't force Reuven to give that up. Now, Meis, Yachzru Nechasim L'Makoma. Now, if Shimon gave Levi a half an acre of his 1.5 acres, and then Levi died, so then that half acre would go back to Shimon, because if Levi has no heirs, then Shimon and Ruvain normally inherit him. But since Ruvain, Lishitaso, is not related, if he's not related, he's not entitled to inherit. And if he is related, well, he never gave up the half acre that was Magia to Levi to begin with, so he doesn't get anything. So Shimon would get his half acre back. But Naflalo Nechasim Imakom Acher Yirshu Echav Ima. But let's say Levi, okay, is identified by Shimon as the long-lost brother. Reuven will have nothing to do with it. And then a few years go by, and Levi becomes a multimillionaire. And he amasses huge wealth, and Levi dies without any heirs. Shimon says, oh, my poor brother, he died without children. Well, I guess I inherit him. Reuven says, our brother died. And so we both inherit him. So halachically, the Mishnah seems to be saying that Reuven is allowed to change his song. He can change his tune when it comes to saying, okay, now I acknowledge that he's our brother. Fine, so I was holding his half acre for him, but now that he has hundreds of acres of property, I want to get a chelik of that as well.
It's perfectly logical, because in the first case, it's a motzime chaver lavaraya.
Right.
In the second case, when he dies and he's become rich and et cetera, well, the other brothers already acknowledge he belongs to both of them. So he's modeh. He's modeh. They should divide all the estate.
Who is modeh?
The brother who claimed.
Right. You know, as you're saying, the decedent Levi himself said, "I'm a brother." Right. So, according to his own taina, Reuven is entitled to it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gemara now says, Zebini Neman Lamai Hilchas. So let's go back. When a person says, this is my son, so he's believed. So of what halachic import is that? So Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Liyarsho v'liftar esishto min hayibo. It has two ramifications. One is for purposes of Yerusha, that a person can say, this is my son, and therefore he's entitled to a chelik of the Yerusha. And the second issue is that a person is believed to say, this is my son, and therefore my wife does not fall for yibum, because I have a child. Now, this is true even if no one knew that he had a child. So the Gemara says, now, liyarsho, pshita. So the first question the Gemara says is, why do you need the Mishnah to tell me that a man is believed to identify an heir? Of course that should be true. Why? Because he has a migu. What's the migu? What's the logical argument? I could have said that he's a stranger, but I choose to give him my entire estate as a gift. So the fact that I can gift my whole estate to someone should certainly give me the power of believability when I say that he's my heir. The Rashbam says you could make an argument of distinction, is that the difference between an heir and someone that you want to gift to is that when you gift someone your assets, you can only gift to them the assets that you currently own. Whereas when you identify someone as your heir, they would receive all future assets that you acquire after the fact as well. So he says, okay, so maybe the halacha would be, Taka, based on what the Gemara is saying, that the reason why he's believed to say he's my son is because of this migu. So then it would be necessary for every year for him to reaffirm that in order for the person that he says is his son to really be entitled to all newly gained assets that he acquires after the fact. Fine. But still, the Gemara's question is, it's pshita. Why do you need a Mishnah for? So the Gemara answers, Liftoris ishto min hayibu mitztarichale. Maybe the answer is because it's not so pashut that a person is believed to identify someone that no one knew was his son, and therefore, on that basis, exempt his wife from yibum. But wait a minute, Hanami Tanina, but that also is a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah in Kiddushin. Misha Omar Bishas Misaso Yeshli Banim Neman. Yeshli Achim Eno Neman. It's almost a carbon copy of our Mishnah. If a person says on his deathbed, hey, by the way, I have children from another wife, and therefore my wife, this present wife from whom I don't have any children, does not need to fall for yibum, he's believed. But if he says, I have brothers, then he's not believed, because since there was never a chazaka that this woman would fall for yibum, because this guy was assumed to be an only child, he can't now aser his wife and remove her from a chazaka of being muteres lashuk, based on just a statement that has no evidence to support it. So the Gemara says, so why do you need both the Mishnah in Kiddushin and the Mishnah in Bava Basra? Hasam de lo muchsak lan ba'ach. Hacha afal gav de muchsak le ba'ach. So the Gemara says the Chiddush is as follows. If I just had the Mishnah in Kiddushin, I would say that the reason why a man is believed to say that he has a son is because why? Is because we're talking about a case over there where there's no knowledge of him having a son, and there's no knowledge of him having a brother either. In that kind of scenario, what is this assumption, what is this presumed status of his wife? That upon his death, she will not fall for Yibum. Because granted, they have no children, but there's also no brother with whom to perform the mitzvah of Yibum. So therefore, she would be muteres lashuk, she would be permitted to marry whomever she wants. So that's the reason why a man is believed to say, I have a son, and he's not believed to say that I have a brother, because consistent with the current chazaka, that she would be muteres lashuk upon his death, he's believed to say, I have a son, which would also make her muteres lashuk, and but he's not believed to say that he has a brother, because that goes contrary to the chazaka. But over here in our Mishnah, what we're saying is that even though there's a chazaka, that if he dies, she's going to fall for Yibum because they have no children, and it's known that he has a brother, he's still believed to say that I have a son, and therefore my wife doesn't fall for Yibum. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah of Bava Basra, and why you need to say it a second time to teach me that even when there's a chazaka, that should he die, she'll fall for Yibum, if he says, but I have a son, that's enough to exempt him for Yibum, even without any evidence of such. And then, of course, the question is, why should that be? Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Mipnei ma omru zebeni neman. Why do we believe him? Therefore, if it's going against the chazaka, hoil ubal she'omer geirashti is ishti neman. Because a man who says that I divorced my wife is believed. If a man says I divorced my wife, he's believed, and so he has the koach of like amigu. He could say that this is not my wife, and therefore she doesn't fall for Yibum. So therefore, mikoach that argument, he could also say I have a son, and on that basis she doesn't fall for Yibum, even though she is my wife. Now, Rav Yosef, it's important to know, used to remember certain teachings that he learned from his Rebbeim, but also suffered from amnesia at times. And sometimes he would say something and not be clear on what it means, and not be clear on what the reason for the statement is. So this is one of those examples. Amar Rav Yosef, Morei de Avraham, Toli Tanya, B'delo Tanya. Right after he quotes his Rebbe, Rav Yehuda, quoting Shmuel, of saying that the reason why you believe him to say that he has a son is because he's also believed to say that he's divorced his wife, is that this is astounding. He says, you're telling me that A is true because of B. A is a Mishnah. B is not even a Mishnah. Where does it even come from? That's question number one. And why should it be true? Why is a man believed to say that he's divorced his wife? Where do you get this from? In other words, you're telling me that the reason why a man's believed to say that he has a son is because he's believed to say that he's divorced his wife. Where does that come from? We don't even know where that comes from. Where did we get that a guy is believed to say that he divorced his wife? So, Elai Itzmar Hachi Itzmar. So therefore, I must conclude, says Rav Yosef, that that's not what Rav Yehuda taught. I'm misquoting him. And if he said anything, it must have been like this, that Omar Shmuel mipnei ma omru zebeni neman, hoel uviyado legarsha. Why is a man believed to say that this is my son and therefore my wife doesn't fall for Yibum? Because he has the potential now to divorce his wife. Not because he's believed to say that I did divorce my wife, but rather because since it's within his purview, it's within his power to divorce his wife, and he has the koyach to create severance and prevent his wife from falling to Yibum, he's therefore believed to, with that power, to say that I have a son and therefore my wife will not fall for Yibum. That's the svara. So Amar Rav Yosef, Hashta de Amar Tarmin and Hoel, Baal Shomer Geirashti is Ishti Neman Hoel V'Yodel Legarsha. And on that, Rav Yosef then later commented and said, now that I know that a man has the power to divorce his wife at any time, mikoach that power, he's also believed to say that I have divorced my wife. In other words, it's a two-step process. The first step is for us to establish that a man has the ability to divorce his wife at any time. And because he has that ability, he's also therefore believed to say that last week I divorced my wife, because he could, if we don't believe him, he can say, okay, I'll do it again. So therefore, we award him the power of believability when he says he divorced his wife. Now, that's not so pashut, because you could also argue, as we're going to see in just a second, Ki asa Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar Rabbi Yochanan Baal Shemegarash Ishti Eino Nema. That if a man, quoting Rabbi Yochanan, one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan said that if a man says, I did divorce my wife, he's not believed. Now, why would there be a difference of opinion in this? Well, think about it for a second. The Rashbam says that when a divorce takes place, it's in front of a beis din. There's some level of publicity to that. If no one ever heard about it, there's usually a call that emanates of us, some level of publicity that emanates whenever the divorce takes place. And if no one ever heard about it, no one ever knew about it, so then that pokes holes into the guy's story that I divorced my wife. And therefore, Rabbi Yochanan is quoted as saying that a person does not have that ne'emanus. And if indeed you want your wife to be considered a divorcee and there's no witnesses, you have to go ahead and do the get again. Menafeach Rav Sheshes biyadei azolei hahoil de Rav Yosef. So Rav Sheshes sort of blew off, as we say in the vernacular, this whole premise of Rav Yosef, and he says basically Rav Yosef's whole taina goes out the window. Because based now that we have a testimony that Rabbi Yochanan contradicted him, Rav Yosef really, especially because he was on shaky ground to begin with, because he wasn't even sure what his Rebbe actually said, it basically has fallen apart. And a husband is not believed to say that I divorced my wife. Aini, is this really so? So we had a previous, Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef was a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan, and he said that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that a husband is not believed to say he divorced his wife. But now we have a different Talmud, Rabbi bar Abin, who said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan just the opposite, that a Baal is Neman to say that he divorced his wife. So how do you reconcile it? So lo kasha kan l'mafreya kan lahaba. There's no contradiction. Rabbi Yochanan really could have said both statements. Sometimes a husband is believed, sometimes a husband is not believed. When is a husband believed? When it comes to halachic ramifications from this day forward. From this day forward, if once I say that I divorced my wife, all halachic issues affecting my wife for the future, you can consider her a divorced woman, even to the point where if I die, she will not fall for yibum. However, what about lemafreya? Let's say 2 weeks ago, a guy's wife committed an act of adultery, and he wants to save her from having to be executed in beis din. So he says, so she's not a bina efes. 30 days ago, I gave her a get. That's where Rabbi Yochanan says he's not believed. He doesn't have the koach of ne'emanus because the migu is not there. The whole migu is, it's biyado legarsha now. He's able to divorce her now, but he can't use that argument to affect her status previously. So ibayalu, Omar lemafreya mahu lihimnune lahaba, mi palginan dibura olo palginan dibura. The question now is, what if a man says that 30 days ago I divorced my wife? Now we just got through saying that we don't believe him if he says he did something in the past. We only believe him as vis-a-vis her status from this point forward. But do we say palgin and diburo, that we basically carefully deconstruct his statement and only extract the halachically valid portion of the statement or not? In other words, we can't believe you that it happened 30 days ago, but we will still believe you that your wife is a divorced woman. Do we have that ability to give that person ne'emanus, even though the statement that it happened 30 days ago does not have ne'emanus? That's called palgin and dibura. We'll believe you for the parts that we can believe you. We'll reject the part of the story that we can't accept halachically. Do we say that or not? So, Rav Mori v'Rav Zvid, Chadomer palginan v'Chadomer lo palginan. We have a machlokas amoraim. One says, yes, we can do that. We can pick apart the statement and extract the parts that are halachically acceptable and reject the parts that are not. And the other mandomer says, no, it's either all or nothing. And since we cannot accept one part of the claim, then there's no ne'emanus at all that your wife is divorced. You'll have to give her a get all over again. So the Gemara says, I don't understand why there should be a machlokas. Ma'ishna midarava. Da amar rava ish ploni boal ishti hu va'acher mitzdarfin lohargo. Lohargo v'lo loharga. It doesn't seem to make any sense, says the Gemara. We know that Rava says something that is undisputed by anyone else. that we are palginan dibura when it comes to a man who says, I saw my wife and Ploni commit an act of adultery. So we don't allow him to act as a witness in Beis Din for his wife because he's related to his wife. He's Nogeya Badavar, right? But we do accept his testimony vis-a-vis the Mina'ef, the male adulterer. So you see clearly that Palginan Dibura, we reject the testimony for the wife, but we accept the testimony for the adulterer. So why is it over here that there's a machlokes? So the Gemara answers, B'trei gufe palginan b'chad gufa lo palginan. The answer is that when we say Palginan Dibura, that's undisputed, is when we're dealing with one testimony that is relevant to two different human beings. Then we can say, everyone will agree that we can extract out testimony vis-a-vis one person and reject testimony vis-a-vis the other person that is not acceptable. But when it comes to the same person, the woman in question, whether she's divorced or not, and to say that we will not accept the time that she was divorced, but we will accept the fact that she is divorced, that is the area of dispute over here. We're just going to do a few more lines. Hahu dahava kashachiv, top of Kuf Lamed Hey. There was a man who was on his deathbed, and Amrulay Itse Leman, and they asked him the following question: what is your wife's status? Does she fall for Yibum or can she marry out to the Shuk? So Amr Lahu Chazyu Lekahana, and he said to them, she can even marry a Kohen. What? Lakana Rabba. Sorry. She can even marry a Kohen Gadol. Even marry a Kohen Gadol. Which is, of course, is a guzma. It's a guzma. He's exaggerating, but basically he's saying that she's muteres lashuk. She can marry out. She's not going to fall for yibum. Why? Because I've divorced her, or because for whatever reason she doesn't fall for yibum. So Amar Rava, my nechushla, Amar Reb Chia bar Abba, Amar Reb Yechanan, Baal Shomer Gerashti is Ishto Neman. So Rava said, let's believe him, because after all, we know a quote from Reb Yochanan saying that a husband is believed to say that I divorced my wife, and that's essentially what the guy is arguing. My wife is divorced. She's not married to me, and therefore she can marry whoever she wants. So Amar Le Abaya v'haki asa Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar Rabbi Yochanan Baal Shomer Gerashti Ishto Ishti Eino Neman. But what about the other Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan who said that a husband is not believed to say that his wife is divorced? So Amar Le v'lav milo shaninu kan l'mafrei v'kan lahaba. But 1 second, we just got through saying that they're not contradicting each other. That Rabbi Yochanan said that you only don't believe a man to say that l'mafreya, that in the past his wife was divorced. But from this point forward, you do believe. But ve'ashinu yeinekom v'lismoch, question mark? But the Gemara says, but that's exactly what our question is. How do we know that we can halachically, halacha l'maisa, rely on that explanation? Maybe Taka, the two students of Rabbi Yochanan, are arguing with each other, and one is accurately quoting Rabbi Yochanan, and one is inaccurately quoting Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan Taka holds, according to one Talmud, that you never believe a husband to say that she's divorced, even for Mikanu Lahaba, even for the future. So Amalei Rava Rav Nasan Bar Ami Yachushla. So Rava says to Rav Nasan Bar Ami, you Taka have to be choshesh that maybe that's the reality. Maybe it's not that Rabbi Yochanan is not being contradicted by his two Talmidim. Maybe one Talmud got it wrong and one Talmud got it right. And it could be that the Talmud who got it right is the one who says that according to Rabbi Yochanan, we never believe a husband to say that his wife is divorced. And therefore this would be Taka a problem. And therefore, in order for her to avoid having to fall to Yibum, either the Shchiv Meira better make a quick divorce, or he better come up with something else. But anyway, or she'll have to get Chalitza. Anyway, that's the conclusion of our discussion for today. Have a wonderful day.